Hi, welcome back to part 2. So in the second part, we are looking at how to build a knowledge base. I'll give you a bit of context and background on some of the databases that you've seen already. We'll look at some technologies on how to publish data as a knowledge graph, especially how to publish existing relational databases using RDF. And then we talk about design principles for how to create a knowledge graph that follows certain requirements you need for an application. So let's start with a bit of a timeline and history. When you come now into the web environment and see all of these knowledge bases and the way they are used in industry by Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on, it can be a bit confusing because you're not aware what has happened over the last 10 years or so. So looking at just a few players here, DBpedia, Wikidata, and Wikipedia. Wikipedia was started in 2001, and as you all know, it quickly became the major distributed online encyclopedia. DBpedia started in 2007 with the approach that I explained earlier, with just extracting the info boxes from Wikipedia and publishing that. And since then, it went through a couple of changes and iterations, became more sophisticated and so on, but this is sort of the earliest starting point. Another major database is Freebase, and this is interesting because you still see references to Freebase in all of these links in the linked open data cloud. So that was an early community created knowledge graph. So people could contribute link in kind of a online tagging fashion. They could recommend new knowledge to be included there. That was run by a company, MetaWeb, and famously MetaWeb was bought by Google in 2010 for an undisclosed sum. The website, the public API, and the data, it was still available, but only for a couple of years. Then in 2016, Google did what Google does best, closing down services, and 2016 was the end of Freebase. But there was kind of a happy end in that all the data from Freebase was donated to the Wikidata project. Of course, it took again a couple of years because it had to be cleaned up, merged, changed in format and so on. But the data from Freebase mostly lives on nowadays in Wikidata. However, you still find links to Freebase. Now, Freebase is the old URI to freebase.com, but if you try to go there, you'll see the website is offline. So here you have an example for a URL, http freebase.com, and then you have an identifier. But if you try to resolve it in a program, you're not going to get any information back. But still, you can use the URI, for example, to merge URIs from different graphs. It's still a valid identifier. It's just no longer a linked data identifier because you cannot retrieve anything for it. So yeah, Freebase was a very early, very important knowledge base. So this explains why you still find links all over the place, but when you go there, you're not going to get anything out of it. But the information you will now find in Wikidata. I'll talk about Wikidata a bit more in a minute. Google, of course, used Freebase to build their own knowledge base, and this is what they published as the Google Knowledge Graph. Obviously, they significantly enhanced it. It's now a proprietary knowledge graph. There is a somewhat limited API, but you cannot access the complete knowledge graph Google is using internally. So this gives you a bit of idea what has happened in this space. And since Google published their knowledge graph, I mentioned, I think in the first week or in the second week, that everybody else also started calling this technology knowledge graphs. Before they were talking about semantic web, linked data, and so on. it's still the same principle, knowledge in graph form. But because Google called it knowledge graph, this became sort of the hip term. Now, just like with deep learning, it's still the same conceptually as neural networks, which we have known for decades, but it's now the cool term to use. So much for Freebase. Yeah, for example, if you go to DBpedia and many other knowledge graphs, you will find these Freebase references, but it's no longer there. The other major knowledge base that I mentioned is DBpedia, and because it existed from the very beginning, it formed this nucleus of the linked open data knowledge graph and has been used successfully in many, many different AI applications. Also in the first week, I showed you Watson, and one of the knowledge graphs, one of the knowledge sources that Watson used to be able to give these answers to all kinds of topics came from DBpedia. So how does DBpedia work? Again, this changed and improved over the years, but the core idea is that they start from a dump of Wikipedia. Now you can download the complete sets of Wikipedia in different languages as a huge data file. And then they have a process that goes through this database dump and starts creating RDF out of the raw data in Wikipedia. Then once they're done, this is going through a number of quality control checks. They have some automated tests, some community review. And then when this is all done, there is a new version of DBpedia published. To see a bit what kind of consequences there are, please go to the worksheet and try out task number 3. And when you're done with that, I will see you in the next lecture part. See you then.